Happy day students. Today we are going to discuss grade 9 social science topic economics chapter 1, the story of village Palampur. Okay. Now you need to understand first and foremost that the entire purpose of this story is to introduce some basic concepts related to production, and this can be done only with the help of a story. Okay, so a story about a village Palampur. Now you have to keep in mind that Palampur is a hypothetical, okay, a village which doesn't really exist. For us to understand various farming and non-farming activities that exist, okay, we have taken up the case study like an imaginary place called Palampur. Okay, now let us first go into farming is the main activity in Palampur. Okay, but on a limited scale we find many other activities also, but mainly it is in Palampur it is farming only. What are the other activities that take place in Palampur? On small scale, they are dairy, transport, okay, on a limited scale. And these activities, whether it is farming or the other activities, they need various types of resources, natural resources. It can be man-made items, it can be human effort, okay. All these are required to carry on the various activities that are taking place in this Palampur. Now let us build a mental image where this village is exactly present. Palampur is well connected with the neighboring villages and towns. So we are telling it's not a remote village, it's fairly connected with the other places around it. Okay, so what are the other places around it? Raiganj, a big village, is 3 kilometers from Palampur, and how it is connected. An all-weathered road connects the village to Raiganj and further on its nearest small town of Shahpur. All-weathered road, that means a road that doesn't get destroyed very easily in whichever weather it is. Okay, so it is connecting Raiganj and further on to the nearest small town of Shahpur. Okay, many kinds of transports are possible on this road because it's an all-weathered road, starting from bullock carts to tongas to wooden carts drawn by buffaloes, which we called as boogies, loaded. They carry various commodities that are grown in and out of Palampur, and even motor vehicles like motorcycles, jeeps, tractors, and trucks are also available. Okay, so that is how this Palampur is connected with the neighboring villages and towns. Now let us see people who are living, the village structure. See a small picture of the village. Who are living? How many families are living? We need to understand. The village has about 450 families. Okay, and now since we are talking about villages, I have to bring out the topic of different castes. Okay, the village has about 450 families belonging to several different castes. The 80 upper caste families own the majority of the land in the village. Okay, okay, 80 upper caste families. Their houses, some of them are very large. They're made of brick and cement plastering. That means what? Pakka houses. We have two types of houses, kacha houses and pakka houses. For them it is pakka houses. Now, so we spoke about the upper caste people. Now let us come to scheduled caste, the Dalits. Okay, what is the percentage? What is the fraction in the total population? It is 1/3 of population, and they live in the corner of the village, not in the center, but along the corners. Okay, marginalized along the corners of the village and in much smaller houses. Okay, so and they are not made with cement or plastering, but they are made with mud and straw. So two differences. Upper caste people, they are in the city, big houses made of cement and brick, whereas lower caste people, they are present on the outskirts, quite small houses, and they're made of mud and straw. So differences too you got. Okay, now talking about electrical connection, most of the houses have got electrical connection, so it's a thumbs up for Palampur. Electricity powers all the tube wells. As I told, farming is the main activity. They require water for irrigation, so electricity powers all the tube wells in the fields and is used for various types of businesses also. Now they have road, they have electricity, they also have primary schools, two primary schools and one high school. Okay, schools are also present. In addition, for basic emergencies, there is a primary healthcare center which is run by the government and one private dispensary where the sick are treated. Okay, Okay, that means what? We can understand or create a mental image that Palampur is not a remote village where no facilities are there. It's fairly well developed system of roads. It has got roads, transport, electricity, irrigation, schools, and health centers. Okay, so this is how Palampur is present. Now let us move on to organization of production. Okay, let me use a marker. Okay, organization of the production. Now why do we carry on production? There has to be a purpose, isn't it? So the main aim is to produce goods and services. Which goods and services? Something that we want. That is why production takes place. Okay, now for any production to take place, there are basic requirements. So we have divided these basic requirements into four: land, labor, physical capital, and human capital. Physical capital again is divided into fixed capital and working capital. Okay. Now let us briefly see what these factors or the requirements for production are. First, let us move to the first requirement, which is land. Land and other natural resources such as water, forests, and minerals fall under this first category. Okay, this is very little about it. Now, second one is labor. Okay, labor means what? People who will do the work. There are various kinds of activities. Some activities require educated and skilled workers to perform that particular task, whereas other activities they require people who don't need a particular degree or education. It's just manual work like carrying loads from point A to point B. They don't require any degree or special training. So, the labor can fall in skilled category or unskilled category. Okay, each worker is provided the labor necessary for production. Okay, now let us move on to the third one, which is the physical capital. As I told before, again divided into fixed capital and working capital. Okay, the variety of inputs required at every stage of production. What are the items that come under these? Every stage of production requires some sort of inputs. It can be in the form of goods or services. For that you need to spend money. Okay, so this money you spend for various inputs can again be divided into fixed and working capital. Why should there be a division? Let us see. Okay, what are the inputs? Now for example, tools, machines, buildings, all these, okay, range from simple tools such as a farmer's plow to sophisticated machines such as generators and computers, etc. Okay, it can be used in production for many years. It's not that for 1 year, this year I'll buy a computer, next year I have to throw it and buy another computer. It is not like that. The same computer can be used for a number of years. Therefore the money that is spent to buy such assets which can be used for a period of time is called as fixed capital. Okay, so now by this time, the moment I explained fixed capital, now you must be having a fair idea what working capital means. Fixed capital means to buy assets that can be used for a period of time. Again and again you can use. So now working capital will be opposite. Raw materials and money in hand. Production requires a variety of raw materials such as, for example, if you take a weaver, he requires yarn, okay, to make a cloth. If you want a potter, he requires to buy clay to make a pot. So some money is required during production to make payments and buy other necessary things. Therefore, raw material and money in hand are called working capital. Okay, unlike tools and machines, these are used up in production. So money you have spent this year to buy clay to make pots, again later on whenever you want to make pots, you have to again spend on it. Therefore it is called working capital. Understood? Now let us move on to fourth requirement: human capital. You will need knowledge and expertise to be able to put together all the other requirements of production. Somebody has to be there to put it to value, put it into action. So this is where the human capital will come into picture. Human beings' knowledge is very important in order to put all the other things to benefit. Human capital. Understood? Every production is organized by combining land, labor, physical capital, and human capital, which are called the factors of production. As we go on reading through the story of Palampur, we will learn more about these First we'll read about the three factors of production. Okay. For convenience, we will refer to the physical capital as a capital. Just physical capital, we'll just say capital. We will not divide it into physical or working capital. Fine. The first requirement for production, land. Okay. Now farming is the main production activity, as I have told before in Palampur. Most of the population, 75% of people are working or dependent on farming only for their livelihood. They can be either owning a land or they can be working in somebody else's land. Understood? Okay. They could be farmers or farm laborers also. The well-being of these people is closely related to production on the farms. Okay. But you always must remember there is a basic problem that is connected with this particular factor. Okay. Land area under cultivation is actually fixed. Land is fixed and scarce. Okay. Since 1960 in Palampur, there has been no expansion in land area under cultivation. By then, so we are telling, we have given a particular year. By 1960, okay, some of the lands which were as wastelands in Palampur have already been converted into lands that can be cultivated. That means whatever land can be cultivated in Palampur has been put to cultivation. Beyond that, you cannot stretch a land physically. That is why we say land is fixed and scarce. Okay, some of the wastelands in the village have been converted to cultivable land. Now there is no further scope to increase farm production by bringing new land under cultivation. It is not like you can go to some other village and snatch a piece of land and put it in Palampur. That is not possible. Clear? Cropping patterns in Palampur. Okay. All land is cultivated in Palampur, as I have told before. No land is left idle. Okay. Now let us see the cropping patterns. Which season what crops are grown? During the rainy season, Kharif crop is grown. Kharif. Okay. So rainy season, Kharif. So rainy season, farmers grow jawar and bajra. That means what? Jawar and bajra are Kharif crops. These plants are used as cattle feeds. They are used for cattle as food. Even cattle needs to eat. Okay. So Kharif, Jawar, Bajra, it is used for cattle. It is followed by cultivation of potatoes between October and December. Okay. In the winter season, we grow Rabi crops. Okay. Rainy season Kharif. Okay. Winter season Rabi crops. I hope this is clear. Up till here it is clear. Okay. In the winter season, Rabi, okay, crops are grown. Fields are sown with wheat. Understood? Wheat is sown. From the wheat that is produced, farmers keep little bit of wheat for the family consumption and sell the excess wheat in the nearby market. Which is a nearby place? One of the place we have read, Raiganj. Okay. As a part of land area is also devoted to sugarcane, which is harvested once every year. It's an annual crop. Sugarcane in its raw form or as jaggery is sold to traders in Shahpur. So, Raiganj wheat is sold and to Shahpur jaggery, okay, in its raw form is sold, okay. The main reason why farmers are able to grow three different crops is what we are going to see in the next slide, okay. Now here you see the main reason why farmers are able to grow three different crops in a year is due to well developed system of irrigation. As I told before, electricity is present, therefore tube wells are operated by electricity and water is always available, and therefore they can cultivate more than one type of crop in their patch of land. Okay. Now but again you have to see that uh, uh, the land is a fixed asset. You cannot increase the area under land. However, within the same piece of land, if you want, you can grow more crops. Same patch of land, you can grow more crops. So, to grow more than one crop on a piece of land during the year, this is called as multiple farming or multiple cropping. It is the most common way of increasing production on a given piece of land. Land cannot be increased. Therefore, on the same patch of land, you are increasing the production. Okay, so all farmers in Palampur grow at least two main crops. Many are growing potatoes as the third crop from the past 15 years. So we have seen multiple cropping. Now let us move on to the next one, which is use of modern farming methods. Modern farming method means what comes to your mind is the green revolution. No problem. Let's go on. Okay. The other ways is to increase the production is by introducing modern methods. Okay, high yielding varieties of seeds can be used compared to traditional seeds. High yielding varieties of seeds can be used for giving more harvest. Okay, the green revolution in the late 1960s introduced the Indian farmer to cultivation of wheat and rice using high yielding varieties of seeds. Compared to the traditional seeds, these seeds, that means HYV seeds, promise to produce much greater amounts of grain on a single plant. As a result, the same piece of land will now produce far larger quantities of food grains than that was possible. HYV seeds, however, they need plenty of water and also chemical fertilizers. Okay, so again, plenty of water is required, chemical fertilizers is required, pesticides to produce best results. So see, so though the positive side is there for modern farming methods, lot of water is required, chemicals are required. So when the moment I say lot of water is required, you will see that will the land sustain if we use so many chemicals is what the question that will come to you. Correct? Will the land sustain? Okay. For example, if you take farmers of Punjab and Haryana and West Uttar Pradesh, okay, uh, they have tube wells for irrigation and made use of HYV seeds, chemical fertilizers and pesticides in farming. Some of them bought huge machinery like tractors and threshers which made plowing harvest faster. No doubt they were rewarded with high yields of wheat. But will the land, which is a natural resources, will it sustain? Will it stay for future use? Sustain means what? Future use. Okay, that is something which we need to think about. Land is a natural resource and it is necessary to be very careful in its use. Scientific reports indicate that modern farming methods have overused the natural resources. In many areas, green revolution is associated with loss of soil fertility due to increased use of chemical fertilizers. Also, continuous use of groundwater for tube well irrigation has reduced the water table below the ground. Loss of soil fertility reduce the water table below the ground. Once destroyed, it is very difficult to restore them because it takes hundreds and hundreds of years to form a thin layer of humus. The speed with which we are destroying it, there might be a point of time when fertile land will never be available to us. Therefore, we must take care of the environment to ensure future developments of agriculture. Understood? How is land distributed between the farmers of Palampur? Okay, you already know how important land is for farming, but sadly, not all the people engaged in agriculture, okay, not all the people who are engaged in agriculture, as I told before, some own a piece of land, whereas some don't, okay. They don't, they're unfortunate enough, they don't have sufficient land for cultivation. So now let us see, out of 450 families, as I told before, in Palampur, about one third of the 450 families are landless. One third means 150 families, they don't have land of their own. Most of them are Dalits. They have no land for cultivation. So now we have told out of 450 families, 150 families don't have land for cultivation. Now let us see, of the remaining people, okay, they own patch of land. Now is it equal? Whatever families are left out, the land that is owned by them, is it even? 240 families cultivate small plots of land less than 2 hectares, okay, in size. Cultivation of such plots doesn't bring adequate income to farmer family. That means it is not uniform. Most of them don't have any land. Even if they have land also, you will see it is very very small, and therefore whatever they produce in this particular patch of land is not enough for their families. Okay, who will provide the labor? Okay, after land, as we have discussed in the initial slides, labor is the most next necessary factor for production. Labor, is most necessary. Okay, farming requires great deal of hard work, lot of work goes into it. Okay, small farmers along with their families, they cultivate their own lands, they provide the labor required for farming themselves, whereas because they can't hire other farmers, they're already poor. Medium and large farmers, however, they hire farm laborers to work in their field because they can afford to hire. But we need to keep in mind that these people who are hired as farm laborers and they work in the land, they have no right on the land, they just have to work there. Understood? They are paid either wages by the farmer for whom they work. Wages can be in the form of cash or kind, or sometimes that is crop. Now, sometimes laborers get meals also. It all depends upon the owner of the land. Okay. Wages they vary widely from region to region. There is no fixed wages. Okay, from one employer to the other employer. Okay, there is also a wide variation in the duration of employment, number of hours that go into it. A farm laborer might be employed on a daily basis or on one particular farm activity like harvesting or for the whole year. Okay. The capital needed in farming, as I told, fixed capital and variable working capital is also there. Now, the capital needed for farming, where does it come from? That is what we are going to read now. Most farmers have to borrow money to arrange for capital. From where do they borrow? They borrow from large farmers or village money lenders or the traders who supply various inputs for cultivation. Now, when they give money as credit or loan, the rate of interest on such loans is very high because they are informal sources of credit. Now, when you take a loan from these sources like money lenders or the rich farmers, when you repay it, you are under a lot of stress because interest rate is high and sometimes you can get caught in a debt trap. Understood? These are about small farmers. Okay. The medium and the large farmers have their own savings. They don't have to take loan. Okay, they are able to arrange for their capital. And how do these farmers have their own savings? Sale of surplus. Farmers produce crops on their land, and whatever excess is produced, excess means after keeping some for their self consumption, whatever excess is left is called as surplus. It is sold in the nearby market. The part of farm produce which is sold in market is called the marketable surplus. Small farmers have little surplus output. Whatever they produce is not enough for their own family. Okay. But whereas medium and large family which produce more on their land, lot is left for them to sell. After keeping some for their personal consumption, lot is left which will be sold in the nearby market. Now, whatever money is got from this selling, some part of it can be stored and some part of it can be kept as capital for furthering their agricultural production. Okay. In Palampur, as I told before, farming is the main activity, but other than farming, non-farming activities are also present. Some of the non-farming activities are listed here. First one is dairy, the other common activity. Okay. Now let us see. Dairy is the most common activity in many families of Palampur. People feed their buffaloes on various kinds of grass. As I told you about Kharif and Rabi crops, remember? Okay. Jawar and bajra is used as cattle feed that is grown during the rainy season. Now, whatever milk is produced can be sold in the nearby cities and towns at good profit. This is the main occupation for people in rainy season. Okay, so now dairy you have seen. Let us move on. What else is present in Palampur? Small scale manufacturing is also present in Palampur. Okay, less than 50 people are engaged in manufacturing in Palampur. Unlike manufacturing that take place in big factories in the towns and cities, manufacturing in Palampur involves very simple production. That's why we say small scale manufacturing. Okay, this is done on small scale. They are carried out mostly at home or in the fields with the help of their own family. They can't hire other people to work in their family. Very rarely laborers are hired. Now, other than this, so dairy is there, small scale is there, small scale manufacturing is there. Any other non farming activity? Shopkeepers. That means there are people who are running shops in Palampur. Okay, people involved in trade are not many in Palampur. The traders of Palampur are shopkeepers who buy various goods from wholesale markets in the cities in large bulks. They bring it back to the village and sell it in retail. Okay, you will see small general stores in the village selling a wide range of items like sugar, wheat, toothpaste, biscuits, notebooks, Okay, a few of the families whose houses are close to the bus stop, which is a regular sight even in cities you see, but in villages you see, near the bus stops, okay, they will be keeping small shops, okay, like they say kirana stores. Transport is a fast developing sector. There are many varieties of vehicles on the road connecting Palampur. As I told before, Raiganj and Shahpur, it is a well connected all through weathered road. Okay, you have got bullock carts and bogies, and even motorized vehicles are also present, which we have discussed earlier. Okay, so fairly a simple content you have seen about non-farming activities. So with this, we come to the end of the chapter. Read the content that is given in the textbook.